I used to play Battlefield 3 and Battlefield 4 professionally, and in year 2015, I helped my country Germany win the World Cup in Battlefield 4. After that, under alias Strong to Strong, I decided to create a YouTube channel because I wanted to share my experience. Some of that experience has been used by bigger YouTubers like AKA-ART.
Thermal camo, since I started using it as it was recommended on a video from this guy called Strong to Strong, I would suggest you go and look at his video, it's really, really good. He suggested to use it, and since then I've never looked back. It is absolutely fantastic.
Welcome to my 10 years after Battlefield 4 review. I was one of the people who always praised Battlefield 4 for one thing, and that was its UI customization. I think the work that the UI designer did on Battlefield 4 nearly 11 years ago is nothing short of impressive. I mean, you can customize nearly anything on the screen, including the minimap, your crosshair, your hit markers, your vehicle HUD, your everything basically. Even the small niche things like the size of the map pack icons or ammo pack icons. This is absolutely insane for the era. Today in many modern games, you don't have that option to do such things. I think customizing the UI the way you like has really helped Battlefield 4 have this reputation as having good retention of players and people wanted to come back. I can speak for myself waking up every day back in the day and thinking, I want to try a different crosshair, I want to try a different HUD, I want to try a different hit marker. Maybe it's going to make me play better. Maybe it's going to do something. I think people really underestimate how such small things can make people come back to Battlefield 4 and test different things each day and each day. The Battlefield 4 minimap, it is the best one we have ever had. And to really put it into perspective, you have to compare it to the other minimaps throughout the years. When you do that and you look at the amount of detail we had, the buildings on Siege of Shanghai are extremely sharp, very well visible. You can see the small bushes next to the road. On the roads, you can see small paper trails. When you compare it to a game that came years later, Battlefield 2042, and you see the background of that game's minimap, it's blurry. I don't see such small papers. I don't see the bushes. I don't see the foliage. It's absolutely impressive. To consider that this came in 2013, as of recording of this video 11 years ago, is incredible. I'm yet to see any game make a minimap this detailed and put this amount of passion into it. I want to give a shout out to Battlefield 3, which also had a good minimap, but considering we cannot resize that thing, and it's not as detailed as Battlefield 4 minimap, and there's only really 2 years apart from them in content creation, I think Battlefield 4 here is the absolute clear winner. What you're seeing on the screen is one of my own videos from 10 years ago, and I just want to showcase on what type of frame rate this game ran in a video that is 10 years old. If you look at my top right corner, you can notice I have 120 FPS. This is on some garbage Dell computer that we bought for like $500 in 2012. Now, to be fair, the performance wasn't great at the beginning of Battlefield 4, and I have video showcasing that as well. We had 30 FPS. That was used to be some type of a low FPS bug or something. But once that was resolved, and it was resolved in a couple of months, you could really see this game shine. In most of these clips you're watching right now, I have like between 100 to 120 FPS. Sometimes smoke lowers it, as you can see here. But generally, this ran very well, and it just always felt smooth and responsive. When you compare this and you jump to down Battlefield 3, you will notice the Battlefield 3 legs. It has a lot of rubber banding. The infrastructure wasn't there. They never gave it the love that they gave Battlefield 4. And that's why it is important to appreciate such things, specifically when they come from 10 years ago. About 2 years after game's launch, when we thought we saw everything and the game was done from the technical standpoint, DICE comes out and tells us we're getting 144 secret servers. A big upgrade from the usual 30 to 60 Hz servers, and it really was, just as the article says, a small revolution for the netcode, and not just in the Battlefield series. Battlefield really was, and this game was one of the first ones to do it. When Battlefield 4 was released, the tick rate was a lame 10 Hz, and I can really attest to how dog shit it used to be. The developer DICE increased the tick rate to 30 not long after launch, and upcoming patch will increase the data exchange to 144 Hz. When I read this, as a 22-year-old, 10 years ago, it blew my fucking mind. I couldn't believe that we're gonna be getting this. And then on top of that, the game was already in a pretty good state when it came to netcode and everything, because we have been playing generally on 30 to 60 Hz, and it was fine. Let me read this article here. The fact that these calculations are also carried out for significantly more players compared to the competitors COD and Counter-Strike makes the achievement of the network engineers all the more impressive. I think the unsung heroes of first-person shooters had to be these Battlefield 4 network engineers who, for this relatively smaller game than compared to countries like Global Offensive and Call of Duty at the time, have really achieved something great here. And I was very, very glad that I could experience it firsthand in Battlefield 4.
If I ever find one of these lying around again, I swear to fucking God, I will stop being so polite. Get the fuck out of my sight before I demolish you.
So they released Naval Strike, which is a water DLC, and all the maps in that fucking DLC are half underwater. Yet for some reason, when you're in the water, you cannot do anything other than have your little pea shooter out. You can't pull out your RPG to shoot all the endless boats and little birds and jet skis and all this other crap they loaded up in this DLC that's flying at you. You can throw a flare, I guess, and a grenade. Like, when you dive into the water, you also cannot drop mines, you cannot repair tool, you cannot do anything. You would at least think that when you have a water DLC and a lot of the vanilla maps have huge masses of water, that there will be some type of water combat at least. But there's none of it here to speak of. Let's talk about the maps. Let's start with Dawnbreaker, which are rated in C tier. Dawnbreaker is garbage and it's one of the worst maps in Battlefield 4. I mean, it is a rooftop-infested map, and the only reason all the infantries are on the rooftops is because they're getting shot in the head by all the vehicles, by the incredible amount of vehicles there on this map. It's trash. On top of that, it has a Levolution, which is like the most unimpressive of them. It just, some pipe explodes and there's like a sewer opens up. Yeah, wow, thanks. It's trash. Flood Zone shares the same problems as Dawnbreaker. It's another rooftop-infested map, and you will see this rooftop infestation as a common topic when you come to Battlefield 4 maps. The verticality is horrible, and Flood Zone is the most criminal of them all. It really exposes how bad the verticality was. On top of that, for some reason, the Levolution, or the brilliant Levolution designers, decided that they will just flood Flood Zone with water, and as we determined earlier, you cannot swim or shoot your gun in this game, or you cannot dive or anything, which makes it an even worse experience. Flood Zone is also one of the worst maps in Battlefield 4. It is trash. Golmud Railway. I think Golmud Railway is a horrible map, but I can appreciate how many people played Golmud Railway and wanted to recreate this big vehicle warfare. There's like a million tanks and a million jets and all of this other good stuff. And I can appreciate that Echo flag on that map is the infantry flag, since that's where you get the gunship for your commander. So I think at least the balance there is better than on Flood Zone and Dawnbreaker. At least it's a linear map, it's flat, there's no rooftops, so it's a bit more classic experience, let's call it that. Hainan Resort. Hainan Resort is my least favorite map in Battlefield 4. And it's for a very, very good reason. As infantry, you play in this 2x2 meter box inside Charlie, because if you go anywhere else, you get murdered by a gazillion vehicles. So you play in this box. The problem is that box becomes even smaller when the enemy team destroys the sides of the hotel. So you're now playing in a 2 centimeter by 2 centimeter box. And meanwhile, outside, you're fighting so many vehicles that it becomes just absolutely unplayable. I would avoid Hainan Resort at all costs. Langkang Dam. This is one of my favorite maps in Battlefield 4, even though I didn't give it an A rating and gave it a B. I just like the flow of the map. I think it looks cool. I think it's good for infantry, and I think it's good for vehicles, although more for vehicles, of course. I can appreciate the design here where infantry has that indestructible cover inside the big hotel flag on Charlie, and we can appreciate such designs. I think there's also a good balance of vehicles here. There's a couple of tanks, a boat, a chopper, and a heli. The only annoying thing is there's a gunship here from the commander. Operation Locker is A tier. I think Operation Locker is a garbage map, but we have to appreciate the facts here. Operation Locker is without any shadow of a doubt the most played Battlefield 4 map, and it's for a good reason. People just like shooting down the hallway and killing some guys, or spamming grenade launchers or C4 and all the other fun stuff. All the tryhards also play on Locker, so it kind of, I guess, balances out the spam and skill expression, that replayability that it offered for years. Even today, people spam Locker. We have to appreciate those facts. Locker is in A tier. Firestorm. I personally always enjoy playing infantry on this map. I always enjoyed this ambience of this big tropical storm happening around me, the lightning storms, and just had a very good ambient, even though it's not excellent for infantry. I think it's fine. There's little trenches you can hide in when you run towards the objectives. Though the map is really loaded up with vehicles, way too many vehicles, it's still okay when compared to Dawnbreaker and Flood Zone, that's for sure. One other thing I want to mention, Firestorm. This is probably the one evolution I do like in Battlefield 4. A big dreadnought ship crashes off the coast, and you have then a mobile-like anti-air craft gun that helps you kill the choppers. I think that's a pretty cool touch. Rogue Transmission goes in A tier, and not one of my favorite maps, but I have to give it A tier for its design, which kind of reminds me of Karg Island for a couple of reasons. The first reason is the map is kind of linear, with like a mountainside, which is similar to Karg, also had a mountainside, and then it has scaffolds and buildings, which are similar to Karg, just a big stone buildings, which you cannot really destroy. You can knock out a couple of walls. So infantry has some cover there and they can fight, and it's a bit more classic design here in how linear it is, rather than being vertical like Dawnbreaker and Flood Zone, for example. Siege of Shanghai is my second favorite map in Battlefield 4 for a reason that I think it's immersive, although I will mention it has the same problems as Dawnbreaker and Flood Zone, but verticality is a problem in the entire game. So if I have to pick a vertical map to play, I'm definitely playing Siege of Shanghai over Hainan, Flood Zone, or Dawnbreaker. And we come to the last map, which is Zavod 311, which I gave A tier. I really hate Zavod, even though back when I played professionally, this was the map I had the best results on. The reason I hate this map is for only one reason, is the mobile artillery on Conquest. It leaves these huge holes in the ground. You have to understand me here as a tank driver. It's impossible to play the map when I'm driving into these massive craters and I have no way to control my tank and I'm just getting shot from rooftops. It has a verticality problem just like the other maps, but it's definitely less than those maps. So those are the maps. Battlefield 4 sadly was not blessed by the absolute masterpiece maps like BF3 and BF2. You could even argue Bad Company 2. But I think what we have here is like 4 good maps that will, or did keep player their attention for sure. And then we have 3 B tier maps, which, when they came in, you were like, oh shit, I don't want to play this, but it's better than Flood Zone. And then you got Flood Zone and then you uninstall the game. So those are the maps. Let's talk about the absolute disaster launch and Levolution.
Levolution is a game changer. It's a big focus for us as we take the dynamics of Battlefield to a whole new level.
So when the game was coming out, DICE on their YouTube channel spammed Levolution videos like every second week at a time. Levolution here, Levolution there, it was everywhere. Mostly on Siege of Shanghai, because they wanted to present their new scripted destruction they managed to achieve in Frostbite 3, which was the collapse of the big skyscraper, right? The problem was when the game came out and you shot the tower with something, and the tower crashed, then it crashed the server on top of that.
Well, the fucking building crashes when you explode it. Don't need it! Don't need it! The building explodes? Well, guess what? Fix this shit! Now!
The way DICE or EA or whoever the fuck was in charge at the time handled this was absolutely hilarious. They took no responsibility for servers crashing on Siege of Shanghai. In fact, they didn't even have the decency to remove Siege of Shanghai from the map pool so that these things wouldn't repeat. While it wasn't only Siege of Shanghai that was affected, it was like the most prominent one, considering they just spammed the YouTube with Levolution of Siege of Shanghai for months on end before the game's released, and they couldn't even be bothered to fix this bug. On top of that, customers were coming in who bought this game for 60 to 120 euro depending on the edition. They came in, shot the tower, they get their game crashed, their origin crashed, their house crashed, and they had no clue why. The developer never opened its mouth speaking about those things, never warned anybody about anything. So RSP admin servers took it upon themselves to be the law here and started banning and kicking anybody without any explanation. How could they explain such a horrific fucking bug to customers? But just think about how this looks for a second. A customer buys a game, joins a server that is owned by somebody who didn't work on the game, who didn't make Siege of Shanghai, and who didn't work Levolution. Launch day, that person is kicking and banning this guy who has no clue what's going on from the servers because he shot an RPG as the video marketing has instructed him to do so he can see the brand new destruction we've never seen before. I think this cocktail of this horrific bug and this admin power abuse that was happening at the time really contributed to this big hit at the player base. That player base never forgot these admins, and even today they still hold a horrible reputation from those days, even though one can argue they did good things with the preventing of destruction of Levolution at the time. That apart, that still doesn't excuse them from banning, blacklisting, kicking, not letting you play with your friends, switching maps as they wish on a whim, and so on, like blatant power abuse they've been doing for a while. Let's hear what AKA-ART has to say about that.
One major issue that is stopping me playing on one of my all-time favourite games. The reason is of course server admins, kicks, bans, and essentially a lack of ability to actually enjoy the great game that is BF4.
I will only add one thing onto what AKA-ART said, and that is just the mere fact that there is a person preventing you from having an access to a large proportion of the player base in Battlefield 4 is absolutely unforgivable. I really hope in the future we have a balance between RSP and matchmaking. For example, I want to be able to map vote, I want that the admins do ban and kick the real cheaters, but I don't want the repeat of the disaster of Battlefield 4.
Commander is online.
The commander is the only player on the team that has a unique overview over the
What
entire
the
battle.
fuck
From
is
there
this
you can
piece of
provide
shit?
orders and assets. But the range of assets that you have at your disposal is directly connected to your team's performance under your command. The final layer, that's when you go on the offensive. And on top of all of this, you will be able to play as a Battlefield 4 commander on a tablet connecting to a live game server on PC or console, making it a true next-generation team play experience.
Battlefield 4 Commander sucked. I don't know one person that liked playing against Commander, and I think those people that liked playing as Commander were those people on the toilet with their iPads in their hands. Battlefield 4 Commander was extremely overpowered. Picture this scenario. Your team is losing, you don't have a Commander, and you're close to getting base rape. Getting out of that base rape while there's a Commander wall hacking you, spamming me with cruise missiles as gunship, makes this process even harder. I think it really contributed to this base rapey nature that Battlefield 4 often had, and that also, of course, contributed to game's bad reputation. And Commander is a very big reason for that. What makes this even worse is that Commander was a non-interactive person, that you couldn't really affect them wall hacking you or spamming you as HVT. The best thing you could do is go on a point where that flag is being controlled, where he can spam gunship or cruise missiles. The problem was, if your team didn't have a Commander, it's very hard taking those points when, as an attacker, you're permanently spotted on the minimap, or you're HVT, or you're getting spammed by gunships because they control the point. I never want to see Battlefield 4 Commander return in any shape or form. In fact, I don't want to see Commander at all, and if they do have to return it, it needs to be in some way as Battlefield 2. We have to be able to kill this person, we have to be able to replace them, or something like that. Battlefield 4 passed the most important test as a video game, and that is the test of time. I think there is no game like this that 11 years later you can log in, have nearly 400 FPS, have no lag, have excellent netcode. It's just an absolute miracle. I consider this game to be the last real Battlefield game, and while Battlefield 1 was also a good game, I think this game, with its modern setting, with its good gunplay and good vehicles, has passed this test. I give Battlefield 4 a final score of 6 out of 10. It's epic UI, it's amazing networking, it's good player retention, performance, ambience and immersion really make this game very good. However, its maps, its terrible DLCs, its horrible admins, and its trash Commander mode knocked the game down a bit. I think if this game had better leadership, probably would have been their most sold Battlefield game. I think Battlefield 4 left an impact on first-person genre as a great game that really revived Battlefield as a game that can deliver excellent performance, that doesn't have to be laggy, and that can deliver all of that on a format of 32 versus 32. That is absolutely incredible. I really hope we get a game in that format again, with everything that you can see on the left side of it, without the bad stuff on the right side, and we get good maps, we get good DLCs, we get matchmaking, and we don't have a Commander, and I think the game we would receive would probably be the best game that was ever made in this series. Thank you so much for watching. I want to give a special shout out to my girlfriend who helped me edit this video. Without her, this would have been much harder to do. Thank you so much, and thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, leave a like. Please comment what was your experience with Battlefield 4. Do you agree with some of my points? What are your points? I would love to read them. See you next time.